Hi guys, and welcome to the show. And today another edition of Wristwatch Talk. Quite a lot to go through, so I'll just dive straight in. Today we're going to talk a little bit about viewer collections. We're going to talk about a new schedule for the channel. Also touch on Baselworld 2015 a little bit and my personal favorites. And we're also going to talk about Squale and the resale value. Okay, so the first thing I'd like to make the announcement is next week I'm starting a new schedule. I'm going to be broadcasting Monday, Wednesday and Fridays. I think 3 times a week will be just more manageable for me. It's starting to get to the stage now where there's a lot of new subscribers, and I find it difficult to have the time to reply to everybody, especially in the emails and the comments. So I think I want to be able to have the time to actually interact with everybody. I think the discussions that people have in the comments, you know, addressing questions and discussing the watches in further detail really is a beneficial part of the channel, not only to me but to you guys out there as well. And also, you know, that interactive kind of aspect of it is what makes it more, you know, that much more special. And I want to be able to stay accountable and be able to interact and be able to answer questions. And you know, I don't want to just become some kind of faceless corporate sponsored channel that is not, you know, at the end of the day it's all about sharing our passion. And I really think the interactivity is a crucial part of that. So for that reason I think I'm going to scale back a little bit on the amount of videos I make. Also because I have 2 other jobs, and this I consider now almost like a third job for me. I don't want it to get to the point where I have to rush things, or you know, it becomes too stressful or taxing of my time. I want it to still be a pleasurable experience, and it is. You know, I get so much feedback, and I really love talking to you guys and hearing your opinions. It's just fantastic, and I really value everybody's comments and opinions. And there are times when we completely disagree, but even in times like that, you know, for example, if we're discussing a timepiece and somebody doesn't like it, there's an exchange of constructive criticism, and you know, they explain why they don't like it. Even in what would normally be a negative comment or critique, there's something to learn there. You know, there's always something to learn. So it's really valuable aspect of the channel that I want to encourage, and I always want to be able to have time to reply to you guys, because it's you guys out there who support and watch this channel that make the difference. A channel is only as good as its viewers, and I really appreciate that. And I'm so blessed to have so many fantastic people out there that you know, we engage in conversations and discussions, and everybody learns something, everybody takes something away from it, and I think that's a fundamental part of why I love doing this, and what I want to continue, an aspect of the channel that I want to continue. So for that reason I'm going to be broadcasting 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays. I might do a special broadcast on Sundays. I have been thinking about returning Casual Sundays. I just haven't had time. You know, I want to kind of ease back a little bit, especially now the weather's going to change, and you know, I want to be outdoors. I want to enjoy my time. It's also, that's another important thing, is that I'm very much a workaholic. You know, I find it very difficult to sit still and not to do anything, and actually sometimes it's important to do that, to relax and to enjoy life and to take it in and savor it, because it can be short, but I don't want it to encroach on the quality or the interactivity of the channel. And I think that's really important. So what else is new? Well, next week I got some really exciting pieces coming in to review. I've been talking to Mark at Long Island Watches, and as you guys know, Long Island Watches are the certified authorized dealer of Squale, and I have my blue Squale on today, and I'm wearing it on a grey NATO strap, paying homage to those sneaky paparazzi pics of the shooting of the new Bond film. So I thought I'd put it on a grey NATO. So I was talking to Mark at Long Island Watches because I wanted to know when he had new stock in, because believe it or not, guys, I am actually going to buy another Squale, a third one. Yes, I know, it's crazy. I just sold off the black-faced with polished, the polished one with the black-faced version. It's exactly the same as this, the one I reviewed, for good reason. Now, Johnny over there at Johnny Casual channel, he was saying, oh, it's a mistake, you shouldn't have sold it, blah blah blah. But Johnny doesn't realize that actually I'm in the process of buying a third one. So I was talking to Mark. I wanted to know when the new stock was arriving. So in the next few weeks I'll get another Squale. Of course I'm sad that my Squale, my original Squale is gone, but I think with the new Squale that I want to get, it will kind of make sense. So, you know, I'll announce exactly what model and which one I'm getting. It's something a little bit different, but I'll announce it soon. So I wanted to discuss the resale value of Squale. Now, I sold it on eBay, and believe it or not, I bought the watch about 4 months ago now, I think, and I wore it pretty much nearly every day, and it's a very robust watch. It had very minor, still mint, absolutely minty mint, and so I put it on eBay, and believe it or not, I sold it for $700, and bear in mind I bought it 4 months ago for $825, and I sold it for, and I only lost $100, and so that's, you know, $25 a month. Really, I got a really nice. I put a little TGV signed card, and I put a little extra gift, an extra strap. I like to do that, and I got a really nice email, and this is from Julio, who bought my Squale, and he says, "Dear TGV, I am the lucky guy who purchased your black Squale 50 Atmos on eBay. I just wanted to take a moment to thank you. It's simply beautiful watch and wears fantastic. I've been researching watches, being a bit of a watch buff in recent years, and actually started buying non-Casio, non-Timex watches, and had a read about Squale on a number of watch forums. I've been thinking about either a Steinhardt or a Squale. So glad you went with the Squale. Steinhardt are great, but this has real heritage to it. You know, this is a real. Anyway, he goes on to say, but Squale seem to have received the most universal praise from reviewers and owners. I came across your YouTube channel review, and that sold it for me. I have now viewed a few of your videos, and I must say I enjoy the thoughtfulness and passion you bring to your reviews. It's refreshing to see a young man, at least young compared to my early 50s, who dedicates his time to his passions without the need of vulgarities or being negative against the competitors of a given product. To me, watches are much like women. Each may have their pluses and minuses, but each is unique. I really like that. Very true. And often than not, the pluses greatly outweigh the minuses. At least that's what I tell my wife of 21 years. Thanks again. I'm looking forward to many years of enjoying this watch. I have finally been brainwashed by my son and maybe one of my two daughters into growing a love of watches. So who knows, maybe one day it will make it to the next generation. So that's fantastic. That made my day when I received this email. Warm regards, Julio. And then he goes on to say, P.S. One more cool feature about the watch, as you noted, the polished inner bezel reflects light, which adds some extra dimension to the watch. In particular, at the 12 o'clock position, the top of the minute marker reflects and makes it look like a small parachute. So he's talking about the triangle at the 12 o'clock position. It reflects on the inner, the chapter ring. That's a highly polished chapter ring, and forms a small parachute. As a former paratrooper, it really tickles me when I see this effect. Cheers. So that's really cool. So that is really cool, and I see it now. I notice it when I'm looking at it. I totally see what you mean. Anyway, I'm so glad the watch has gone to a good home. You know, I almost prefer it to go to a good home than making my money back. You know, it's such a special watch that to know that it's being appreciated, and it's the one that's in the video. It's a celebrity, not a celebrity, but it has a little bit of fame to it. It has quite a cool story now. So, and to know that it's gone to a good home where it'll be handed down the generations, and that's just fantastic. I couldn't have asked for more, and it warms my heart. It really does. So that's absolutely fantastic. So Julio, please, I hope you keep watching the show and wear your Squale with pride. I have mine on. I really, after a week of wearing the Speedmaster, I really miss this. A Speedmaster, a Squale, and a Submariner. You know, those could be my top three. I mean, those could be. I could be quite happy with just those three watches. You know, of course I'd miss my Datejust and my Oris, my darling Oris. You know, and you know. Brace yourself for the next, for what I'm about to say. You know, call Fleet Street, call the New York Times. I actually think the Oris, I actually think the Squale now, the 1521, I think it's my favourite watch. I think it's my favourite watch. Anyway, I feel a bit of a traitor to I know you Aquis purists really support the channel. Don't worry, my Aquis is not going anywhere. It's a fantastic watch. Everything I said about that watch, I stand behind 100%. But you know, you fall in love. It is a bit like women. You kind of. Anyway, I'm not going to go down that road, that analogy anymore, because I'm going to start offending my 3.9% female audience, which is pretty much my wife and a few other family members. But anyway, I think the Squale, I think it is my favourite watch now. It has, there's a magic to it. It has the heritage, you know. It has pedigree. It's stealth. It's tasteful. It's, you know, it comes in a variety of colors and flavors, and you know, I love the movement. I love the design. There's nothing I would change about it. You know, it's not perfect. It is not perfect, but I accept it for exactly how it is, and I absolutely adore mine. Anyway, enough of the Squale. I just wanted to say that well, first of all, I wanted to share that email, and second of all, I wanted to really talk a little bit about its resale value. And actually talking, just funnily enough, just while we're on the subject, last night I was talking to a good friend of mine, Paul Pluter. A lot of you know him as Archie Luxury. I actually know Paul for many years. I think almost 4 years now. And you know that it's important to make that distinction. There's Paul, and then there's, you know, his alter ego or his character, I guess, Archie. And you know, when you talk to Paul, it's you know, you're talking to a genuine, real human being, and he's a lot more, you know, he's a lot more down to earth, and he's a really top bloke. And anyway, we were talking about Breguet, and I was saying, you know, you should come to New York. You'd absolutely adore the stores here, and you could shoot a ton of footage and share it with your channel, and it would be fantastic. I mean, he'd love New York, you know, and the Breguet store especially here is stunning. But he was saying how much they depreciate, and how difficult it is to sell. And I was this close to saying, well, you know, I just sold my old Squale and I only lost $100 on it, and I wore it for 4 months. But then I remembered that actually that's where his character and the real Paul Pluta kind of overlap, where Paul, you know, would probably agree with Archie about mid-tier brands. And it's a shame, because I think if you gave Paul a Squire, if you gave this watch to Paul for a week, you know, he'd probably end up really appreciating it, you know. But anyway, that's a whole another subject. But it is interesting to think that there are brands, mid-tier brands, or actually, I don't even want to call it mid-tier, because it's in a whole different category. It's a special. You know, there are brands that aren't super luxury that do hold their value well. So anyway, what else is there to talk about? Now, of course, I can't really make a wristwatch talk episode without mentioning Baselworld 2015. And I was going to make a video all about it and talk about, you know, with pictures but to be honest, I'm just a little bit kind of not bored, but underwhelmed by the whole thing. I'm sure it would be fantastic to go, and if I ever get the chance, I will go, and I'll try and take the camera with me. But I mean, last year I thought it was a bit more exciting. There were a lot of more kind of innovations technologically. I think Oris, in particular, with their first analog, you know, the Aquis with the depth gauge, and then they had an aviation piece with an actual altimeter built in, and analog, you know, things like this was very exciting last year, and this year was a bit of a downer. It was pretty much dominated by Omega and Rolex with a whole slew, countless. I mean, how many watches do these companies put out? And it seems a lot of it is rehashing old ideas. There was nothing really new on the table. Anyway, so I just want to quickly run through a few of the things. Of course, Omega had their white man on the moon. Personally, I'm not my cup of tea. I think I quite like kind of panda dials, but the white man on the moon didn't do anything for me. I did, however, like the Speedmaster 57. They actually changed the hands over, which they got the new little hands with the kind of patinaed loom. I really like that. I would consider buying one of those, maybe a used one further down the line, or you know, I'd consider one. The Omega Globe Master was really interesting. I especially like that, and they have a new movement called the Master Chronometer, and I like the fact that it stayed in a 39mm size. Of course, they had the Bond Aquaterra, which we talked about in a video. I did a video especially about it, you know, the new Spectre Bond watch, and the way they've started incorporating the Bond heraldry into the design. I thought that was really interesting. The franchise and how it's kind of returned to its gentry roots. So I hope they've obviously been paying attention, which is fantastic. So if you're listening, Omega research and development people, please keep watching. I would love to review the Globemaster. Imagine me reviewing the Globe. Do you imagine how excited I'd get with the unboxing, you know? Then obviously we had the Rolex. I really like the new Day Date 40 with the new movement. I really like the platinum one. I think it's platinum. The dial that has this kind of... The dial is split into 4 quarters, and the direction is almost like corrugation on the JU52. Then the offering from Rolex I really like was the new Oyster Perpetuals. Have really cool kind of color coordinations, very subtle, nice smaller sizes, very tasteful, very classic. It's what Rolex do best. I would definitely consider one. I even liked the kind of purpley dial one. I thought it was pretty cool. But anyway, that's pretty much Rolex. There was, of course, the new blue Tudor Pelagos, and actually there was quite a few Tudors that were kind of interesting. When it comes to Tudor, I really like the 90s ones, like the old Tudor Submariner, I think it is, and the Prince Day Date. Those are stunning. I'm much more interested in those. I mean, you know, the blue Pelagos, a little bit boring. I was kind of disappointed by that. Don't really like the blue. I'll choose a Squale over the Pelagos in a split second. More heritage, more history, more achievements. Tudor seems to be... I love Tudor, don't get me wrong. Value for money. You know, this is the highest grade, the ETA. I think the older Squale, I think they have the same ETA. Anyway, just doesn't really grab me. I do like the Pelagos. I think it's a really cool design. I think it's stealthy. I think it's tasteful. It's masculine. It's a very conservative piece. I do like it, but you know, the blue one doesn't grab me at all. Oris had some really interesting pieces. Out of all, again, Oris probably, like last year for me, Oris this year had the most interesting pieces. They have the Oris 65 diver, which is a reissue of a classic 60s diver, and at a really good price of €1,600. I think, again, Oris offering realistic, tasteful, affordable, high quality Swiss watches, and I think it's fantastic. The 65 didn't really, at first I thought it was a Vostok, you know. It has that kind of really kind of almost Soviet style dial, very Vostokian. Just invented the word. Very Vostokian dial. Yeah, that's a new one. Rolexinian. I think we're gonna have to invent new vocabulary just to describe watches. I love the 65 now. It's funny, it took a few days to grow on me. At first I didn't like it because of its Vostokian dial, but now I adore it. I wouldn't say no to one of those. Again, Oris, if you're listening, please send me one to review. But actually you probably won't have to. I could see myself buying one of them next year. Let's see what happens. You know, let's see what happens. Oh, another Oris. Where was it? Where did I write it? The Force Recon GMT diver. The Aquas. I think it's in the Aquas line. I'm not sure, but it's the Force Recon GMT diver. Really, really cool black, military inspired, tough looking diver with a GMT complication. I would definitely want to get one of those. I think it's really cool. So that's definitely something to look out for. And then again, you know, they do this. They have a nice spread. They have a reissue of some classic retro 60s diver. They have something new that's very kind of modern and tough with the Force Recon GMT, and then a nice dressy number with the Thelonious Monk. Of course, the famous jazz musician. Very plain. Almost the most minimalist watch I've ever seen, with the sapphire blue sunburst dial. Absolutely stunning. I still prefer the Oris John Coltrane, you know, with its more Bauhaus design, but the Thelonious Monk, absolutely gorgeous. I mean, a limited edition, unfortunately. But yeah, I wouldn't say no to one of those either. So again, it's funny. Oris seem to have the most kind of tasteful, mature offerings. Really, nice spread as well within the genres. So anyway, quite an interesting year. Nothing really, you know. I'm not like blown away by anything. There's nothing that I'm like, oh my god, you know. Which is a bit of a disturbing sign, especially as, you know, there's a possibility of a kind of, not a quartz crisis part 2, but there might be, when the smartwatches get their when they get their button gear, and the smartwatches actually offer something realistically, you know, plausible alternative that actually, you know, that even I would be impressed by, then I think the Swiss watch industry will be in a bit of, or the mechanical watch industry, I should say. Considering that I think there's going to be problems soon, or a bit of choppy water. Surprised that they're not really, that there isn't more innovation, you know. Kind of. Anyway, that's just my opinion. Please let me know what you think. I would really like to know what you think, and which were your favourites, and which, you know, any watches that I should look at or consider, or I should review for the channel. Please comment below. So that being said, that's pretty much everything I wanted to address in today's wristwatch talk. I think the next one will be another viewer emails, as I still have a backlog of emails to get through, so I apologise if I still haven't got to your email. I'm trying to go as fast as I can, but anyway, next week's schedule hopefully will allow me to kind of catch up, and give me a bit of room to maneuver with getting back to all of you guys. Okay guys, so that's today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like if you did, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. So next week, videos Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I'll catch you then. Okay, thank you for watching. Ciao.